agenda for Thursday, August 27th, 2020. It is now 6:05. The meeting is called to order. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the
to
flag
the flag
of the United
of the
States
United
of
States of
America
America,
and to the
the
republic
republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
Okay. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Here,
Okay. Director Gibson is absent. Director Kelling.
Here.
Director Nyman's here. Director Schoenberg.
Present.
Okay, so we do have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and move forward. To discussion, adjust agenda if necessary.
yeah. I gotta go pay attention to this. Yeah, that's true.
Let me get to my agenda. Are there any other people on here that are gonna be? No, there's nothing else. It's not the normal stuff, right?
I thought that the prospective RV park would be on here, but
I thought they would too, but maybe they're not here yet. But I have some issues with that anyway.
They
so-
are,
They
they
are
are on the
here.
call and they're on the agenda.
okay.
That's number
So I would
13.
like to move that. Wait, so I would like to move that forward. Let's see, where is that on the agenda?
13.
So I'd like to move 13 forward so that they don't have to stay through the whole meeting if they don't want. So let's see, I move that we put that to number, let's see, can we do it on number 4? We need it after,
Why
it needs,
don't,
it needs to
what-
be after the district sphere of influence. So if we could put it after 4B.
Okay.
okay, so you're making a motion?
Yes, I am. I said I move that we do that.
Do I hear a second?
I will
I'll second that. Okay.
Okay, Director Kelly has seconded it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, 410. Is that correct? Is that how I say it?
No,
Yeah.
4-0.
Oh yeah,
One ab-
the one would be an absent, would be a no. Yeah.
So 401
Yeah.
absent. Okay. Motion carried. Is that it? Did we want to do financial business before we get started and get Linda out of here?
Oh,
She may need to be here for, let's see. Because there's, no, I think she needs to be here for some of the discussion on using district funds.
Okay, all right. All right, so if nothing else, let's go on to number 3. Are there any public comments? Okay, hearing none. 4, discussion vote update on Fraser Park Lake of the Woods Consolidation Planning Programs. A, discussion vote update on test wells.
And do we need to note what time we're starting in on this?
We're starting at 6:10.
Thank you. So, Dee, are you gonna talk about the, are
Test well sites.
you gonna start that, or do you want the ad hoc to start it?
Either way, Lisa, you can go ahead and start, and then I'll just fill in some of the details if you'd like.
Okay, what's happening so far is we are still waiting for the court date on the Saya property. We are also waiting for a signature still from the Wainwright French property. And it's actually turns out to be two properties, which I'll talk about in a second. And we also we do have a signature on the Hickmat property with the less amount of time, which is the 3 years rather than the 5. We went forward on the environmental work, although I guess that's comes up later in this on D. Let's see, so there's actually two properties that are the Wainwright. It's actually the Wainwright French property. We were just calling it the Emily Wainwright property, but it's owned by two people. And there's actually two properties, and where we want to put the test well is kind of between, on both properties. So we're gonna need to deal with both properties from here on forward. And also, because of that, Dee went forward with the appraisals, which I think may be further on this also, but no, it's not. So he did go forward with the appraisals, but it's an additional $500 for the fourth site. Basically, it's
No, that was the title report, $500.
I'm sorry, the title report is an additional $500. So he went forward with I'm sorry, thank you, Director Nyman. Correct me, it's not the appraisal, it's the title report. Reports. And that's kind of where we stand. I'm also very interested in getting the Wainwright French property into our sphere of influence, and that'll come up in the next in B. So we'll talk about it in B, but that's where we stand as far as I know on the test wells. Oh,
Okay.
and the bid went out. So the bid has gone out on the street as of last Saturday. So it's gone out for advertisement. Dee's already gotten some questions about
That's another agenda item. That's number C.
number C. Okay, so yeah, so we're
But
fine.
we do need to vote on, have discussion and vote on the Wainwright French agreement. They are pushing for 2 years for that agreement. I know we had discussed this before in the meeting, and so in order to get them to sign the license agreement, they are requesting that the agreement only be for 2 years.
And I'm going to talk about that more. I mean, we can vote on it, but I'm also going to talk about that in the sphere of influence discussion, because I feel that if for some reason the consolidation does not go through, the consolidation annexation does not go through, or takes multiple years to go through, if we only have a 2-year agreement with them, we may need to purchase that property out of pocket, because we may want the property anyway in order to build a well on it for this district, whether or not the consolidation annexation goes through. So I just want people to think about that. And that'll come up on B as well, but I'm in favor of the 2 years as long as we can move forward on the sphere of influence.
What would stop us going forward on the sphere of influence?
I don't know. We need some additional information on B. So I don't know. It's kind of funky. It's almost like we need to hear B before we make this vote. Can I move that we go ahead and discuss B and then come back to A for the vote?
Yes. Do I hear a motion? Do I hear a second?
I'll
I'll
second
second that.
Okay, Director Garcia has seconded it. Roll call the directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelling,
Here, aye.
Director Nyman's an aye, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 401 absent. Okay, So we're on the B, discussion vote on application LAFCO to extend district's sphere of influence.
And can I say one thing before we start talking about all the sphere of influence stuff? This also links, I'm sorry, is it okay?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this also links to our guests that are here and the reason that we moved up that discussion item, which is discussion item number 13. So this also affects a discussion item 13. So when we extend the district sphere of influence, I am proposing that we try to include both the property for discussion number 13, the Wainwright French properties, both of them, and anything else that we may want to include before it gets to, we already have the map drawn out with these properties on it, so it's not going to be real difficult, but I would like us to think about what we want to include. And I'm also interested in trying to further include some of the Saya property, although that may or may not be an issue. But I think that all of those properties need to be in our sphere of influence so that if we need to move forward with drilling these wells in less time than the state's going to pay us, or even grant any kind of construction funds, that we can move forward with digging wells if we have the money for it.
Can I comment?
Yes, go ahead, Dave.
There, on that map, on the map that we reviewed, the LDS church was not within the boundaries.
Oh, and that's another thing that I want to bring up, because that should have been, and I need Tiffany to go back and look, or I don't need, the board needs Tiffany to go back and look at and the problem is I don't remember when we originally talked about it, but I am like 80% sure that we already motioned to have Dee redraw the map and resubmit it, and it just didn't happen.
Sharing that, or that's yours, or what?
What's that, Director Garcia?
I'm sorry. That was background. Go ahead.
So I don't know, Tiffany, if there's a way to look that up, but we definitely need to look at whether or not we had motioned. I'm almost positive. I know that there were some issues with the state wanting to pay for them, and that was our biggest issue, but I'm pretty sure that we had, regardless of that we had agreed to put them in the sphere of influence map, and that we had asked Dee to redraw it and resubmit. And I thought that happened already, and it does not appear that it did.
Okay, I'll start that homework on Monday.
Okay. So that would be part of this as well. If for some reason the LDS church is not in our sphere of influence currently drawn, they would need to be included as well. We're getting a lot of background noise.
Jerry, can you mute yourself?
I have a question.
Yes, Steve.
On the LDS church, were we going to extend water service to them and then they decided they didn't want it, or am I thinking just opposite?
The
I think it's opposite.
We weren't going to extend it, and then they came to us after we had already drawn the map, after we had done everything, and then we went back out, reached back out to them per the state asking us to do that. And as far as my understanding is, we approved them to be on that sphere of influence, which is contiguous with the annexation map. And so if they're in our sphere of influence, they would be eligible for the annexation as well.
They're hauling water.
Right now, yeah, currently.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought the state said that they wouldn't pay because it was a religious thing, and that's the reason that we didn't do it.
It was being argued as far as them being put into the project, but I believe we put them into our sphere of influence anyway, because there was still questions and the state was looking into it. My recollection is that's where it left off, is that we agreed to put them in the sphere of influence and draw them onto the map. which like I said, is contiguous with the annexation, but does not have to be the annexation. So, but if they're not in our sphere of influence, they're not going to be part of the annexation. So we need to draw them in.
And actually, I remember the way it went down was they claimed that we never reached out to them. They contacted the state, and the state said that we had to let them in.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
And we showed proof that we had reached out to them.
Yeah, on multiple times.
Right, but we still agreed, as far as my recollection is, we agreed to draw them into the sphere of influence and wait to see what happened in the annexation. But at least if they were in the sphere of influence and they didn't get included in the annexation from the state, they could choose to help pay for the annexation
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah, that's my recollection too. They said to draw them in the sphere of influence, and because they could be in the sphere of influence, and we still could not provide them water.
Right, and that's why I would like to include at this point. I am very interested, and we need to get some details from Dave. And I think we reached out to a few people to get details, our attorney and stuff. But I would like to have, so my plan, which I'm not going to make a motion yet, but my plan would be that I would propose would be to include the property that we're going to be discussing on item 13, the Wainwright French, both properties that we're discussing on item A, and the 4A, and the LDS church, which should have been on there in the first place and somehow did not get put on. And in addition, as much of SEIA as we can possibly put on with or without, and I'm not sure how that's going to work exactly, but I believe that they need to be in there too, because if they're actually going to do a development, which is what I understand to be their plans, they need to be in our sphere of influence.
And Wainwright properties are already within the boundaries.
Yes, they're within the boundaries, but my issue is that I think that we need to do a sphere of influence that breaks off from the full sphere of influence. So the full sphere of influence includes Lake of the Woods, it includes Connor, it includes Bear Court. We can't do that yet, and it's looking like it's going to be another 5 years. And we've got people who want to develop stuff that are going to get pressed in between that. And I think that we need to break off from the larger sphere of influence and create a smaller sphere of influence that allows other people to annex into the property before the state ever, we're waiting for the state, and we don't even know if that's ever going to happen. So, and it's at least, it's years off. So I would like to see us pay, and we may have to talk to the property owners to see if they're willing to pitch in some of that, although it's not really that expensive. So I mean, I think, and it's
Like $500.
Yeah, it's mostly all drawn out. So I would like to see us go ahead and vote and move on our sphere of influence, a smaller sphere of influence, but what's already drawn on the map, and adding the LDS, which somehow got left off, and seeing if we can add SEIA. Part of SEIA is in the district, part of it isn't. And actually I would like, before we draw that, to reach out to the person who just bought the other piece of the property. Like there's the folks on 13, but there's also someone else who just bought property off of someone who did not want to be part of our annexation, but I think they should be reached out to one more time to see if they want to be in the sphere of influence. Doesn't mean they need to annex, just to put them in the sphere of influence if they're interested, while we're making this new drawing so that we don't have to redo it again. But before we go forward on that, I really think we need to hear from Dave. Were you able to find out the cost of that? Because we have it later on as an annexation, but it's not really an annexation. I don't think we can do the annexation yet.
The sphere of influence cost, you're going to have the sphere of influence boundaries drawn up and described by D.
Right, they already are. We just need to add what he didn't add, and then I'm proposing that we also add the rest of SEIA and potentially that other property.
But you're also proposing and leaving out Connor, Lake of the Woods.
Yes.
And other people who are Elephant Acres or whatever it's called.
Yes, well, maybe include Elephant Acres, but I'm thinking we leave out everybody who is gonna be a long distance where there's no way we could possibly do it without state money, like Lake of the Woods, Connor, and Bear Court. They're too far. Probably Elephant Acres too.
So you're talking about putting in a separate sphere of influence.
Right, so once we do this and we actually get that, then we could change the sphere of influence for the state. And that
Cost,
would,
but you'd have to talk to Dee about the cost of redoing the map and including what the boundaries
Right,
are you want.
right. And Dee was supposed to redo the map, so I need to hear from, we would like to hear from Dee as well, because I don't know what happened on the LDS church, because that was supposed to already be on the new.
Do we have to redo the application?
No,
No. So basically, okay, here's, because when we were talking to LAFCO, basically LAFCO is saying that if something's in our sphere of influence, that if we have that map, then if that property at a later date wants to annex in, there's not a lot of extra costs and it's very easy for them to annex into. So
separate from the state.
separate from the state. So that's why Lisa's proposing a separate one, because if for some reason the annexation doesn't go forward, she wants the Wainwright property in our sphere of influence and the Saya property, because
LDS property,
an
the
LDS property.
property that we're gonna discuss in 13, and potentially the other buyer that bought the other part of that property, whose name I don't know.
And I understood the state also said you need them within your sphere of influence to serve them.
Correct.
Yes.
Right, so what would happen is once we had the sphere of influence, it would be relatively easy for, and I apologize for not having your name on the tip of my tongue, but for the folks in number 13, it would be relatively easy for us to annex them when they were ready. It would also allow us to give a letter, once we have them in our sphere of influence, it would allow us to give them a will serve letter saying that we could provide water should they pay for that and should they annex.
Sam and Kim are the,
That's right. Hi, Sam and Kim LaFoca.
Yes, LaFocas. Sorry about that.
No
Thank
problem.
you. I'm on a phone, so I can't see all the people on here. So the LaFoca, so yeah, so basically what I'm proposing is the LaFoca property, potentially the property that's right next to the LaFoca property, which was sold to another buyer from Sigmund Lecter. The Saya, the rest of the Saya property, the LDS, which was already supposed to be in there, the Wainwright French properties, 2 of them, and I think that's it. I don't know. I think Elephant Acres might be too far, so I think we should maybe wait for that for the state.
LDS is further away than Elephant
Oh,
Acres.
that's right. LDS is further away, but that needs to be in the bigger, but that should have been in already in the state one.
Right.
So, well,
We
then
need-
I guess we could draw in. Okay, so then I'm going to change my proposal. I would say that we should draw in. But that's a property, so that's a problem because the LDS, I think we have to do that as a separate motion because the LDS we're not going to be able to provide necessarily if the state doesn't give us money, because I don't know if we're going to be able to pay for what it's going to take to get water out to them, although that maybe they would be willing to put in to go that far. I don't know. But that's potentially a problem because that's a lot further from any of our main line. It would be pretty,
that one has to be with the regular annexation, the Lake of the Woods project. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to service LDS because they're already basically in Lake of the Woods.
right.
So,
Dee,
so
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Dee, what would it take us? What's an approximate cost that it would take us to draw 2 separate maps? You already have most of the information for both maps, but on the map for the larger project for the annexation consolidation project, adding LDS and on the other map, including everything else that I said.
Well, the other one would be the district cost.
It would still be a cost for us. I mean, we would still need to, yeah, I need to know what, we need to know what both costs would be. And I want to make sure too, Dee, that you didn't bill us or anything for that, because I could have sworn that you had already done the LDS and submitted it to the, I could have sworn you submitted that already.
Well, I certainly, Lisa, that's been long enough ago that I can't really remember. I can check. But Dave, do you have the APN of the LDS? Did you get that?
Yeah, and I sent it to folks. Did you want the APN? Try to look for it.
If you would. But I can take a look. The thing that, we have a tremendous amount of mapping done. I think, I need to know exactly where these properties are, and then get a copy of the deeds so that we can do a meets and bounds description of those properties. How much will it be? I can put together a proposal to do that once I know exactly what we have to do.
A couple of them are already drawn in. The properties that we're going to be talking about on 13, the APN 255-52002 is already drawn in. The Wainwright French is already drawn in from my looking at the map. The ones that we would be adding to the smaller map would be the potentially the property next to the property on 13 and the rest of the Saya. So that would be one map, and you would just, that map's already drawn minus those two properties. It would just need to be drawn smaller. You would just need to like end the map before what we were originally talking about. And then the second map's already completely drawn too, minus the LDS property.
Well, I propose that we don't charge you for anything we've already done.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, I agree. I totally agree with that.
But what I really need to do is I need the description of the ones that we're adding, and then we'll put together a proposal. We'll take a look at the map and come up with what we think might be an additional cost. I don't see a lot, but certainly I need to look at it in detail before I give you a number.
Okay,
So
how soon could you do that? Because I know that that we have a couple people that would, well, in specifically
Sam and Kim.
Sam and Kim, my
La Foca.
LaFoca, specifically are very interested in getting as quickly as we can a tentative letter for supplying water, but we can't do that until we have the sphere of influence taken care of. So I think that we need to get a date, the soonest date that you could get that to us and that we could vote, because I think we're going to have to move this maybe to the next meeting. But the problem is that without getting some sort of okay on this, we can't move forward on the test well proposal either. So we need to at least, I think, agree that we would like to put the test well site, or that we would like that we would like to divide the map into two. I think we need to agree on that tonight so that we can move forward on 4A, because otherwise I don't see how we...
Distinguish it as one for Fraser Park District map, sphere of influence, and the second one is
for consolidation annexation.
Yes.
For the state project.
This is what I need. I need the APNs of these properties that are being added to the sphere of influence and map. And I need to make sure that I know exactly what properties are not going to be in the, let's call it the Fraser Park sphere of influence, and which, so I can draw that boundary, because the boundary right now is, it goes all the way up to Lake of the Woods and comes all the way back. I just need to know where to cut that off, what properties, give me an APN, and I will need a deed description of those properties, and then we can move ahead, and I'll put together a proposal to modify the maps. And but I need to look at that in some detail, and
Right.
certainly willing to do that.
So that's all great, but if we don't get a motion to kind of move forward with this tonight, then we can't vote on that 2-year, because I'm going to be against the 2-year if we can't put them in our sphere of influence. Because otherwise, no way that 2 years is going to do us any good, because the state project is not going to move forward potentially for 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever years. It's going to take quite a bit longer than the 2 years. So I would at least like to get a motion to agree that from the board that we're willing to pay the cost or try to split it or whatever we're going to do, but that we're willing to move forward on 2 separate spheres of influence. And then I think we can vote on 4A.
I'm okay with that. So you understand why she's proposing this, Director Kelling? You're muted. You're muted. I can't hear you.
I understand. Yeah, Dee's gonna have to do some work, and I don't know what that's gonna cost us. And
I know, but we can't do that.
We can't ask the state now to go back and do the LAPCO map. This
Terry, stop for a second. This has nothing to do with the state. Right now, well, part of it has to do with the state, because we cannot, well, yes, but what I'm telling you is that we cannot get a signature from, okay, right now, Wainwright French are demanding a 2-year contract. And
Right.
so a 2-year agreement. If we sign that and we don't do this first, we are going to have issues, because there's no way that property, that the state is going to move forward in those 2 years.
We might have to buy that property on
We
our
are
own.
probably going to have to buy that property out of pocket for our own well, and or at least buy it and hope that the state is going to move forward. So that money is probably going to come out of our pocket before 2 years down the road. So
Definitely.
Yes, but we need to decide that tonight, because we need to move forward, because they have not signed anything and we already went out to bid. So the bid is on the street, and if we don't like move forward on just 4A, it's like it all hinges on this. So
Okay, wait a second, Director
We may have
Kelling.
to
I
be
think,
buying the SIA property as well, right?
okay, hold on just a second. Hold on just a second. Okay, so here's the deal. The bottom line is that the Wainwright property is not in the Fraser Park current boundary, okay? And so if we need to buy that property, whether the Lake of the Woods annexation happens, if that's a good well site, we as a district would want to buy that property. And in order to annex that into our boundary, we need to have it in our sphere of influence when we go to purchase it. Otherwise, we have to pay a lot of extra annexation costs.
Can I say something also on that topic?
Yes, go ahead, Johnny.
Okay, if you think about the distance of the Wainwright property, if the project does not move forward with the state, it's going to do us no good to have that well drilling site, because we're not going to be able to afford to run the pipeline from there back to our distribution system.
It's still,
That's a lot of money to run that pipe.
Connie, it still does us good, because there's a possibility that as long as that's in our sphere of influence, that we could still drill a well there, and we could use that well going to a storage tank. We could do other stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to connect directly.
But how can we get it from that storage tank to anywhere else?
We might not. It might be for 5, who knows? But I'm just saying, I
Okay.
still think it's valuable enough to move forward with, because if we're gonna sign this thing for 2 years and we find out that's a decent well, and then we have to let it go because the state's like dragging their feet, that can be an issue too. I mean, we don't have to move forward on it necessarily. Just because it's in our sphere of influence doesn't mean that we're ready to serve water to it.
Well, by the same token, I'm thinking that even if it was not in our sphere of influence yet, we could still own it just like we do Cold Springs, and it would still help us in the future. We would just put it in at that time. We could still own the property and own the right to it.
We can, but there's other issues that happen, like tax on the property, like we pay taxes on Coldwater Springs. There's all kinds of other issues.
Yeah, no,
Well,
I'm all
even if
for
it's in
adding
our-
it to the sphere of influence. We
We're
just
gonna-
need to absolutely do it
We're
so
gonna-
we have time. So we have time to get it done.
Yeah, because just
Yeah,
because something's in our sphere of influence doesn't mean it's going to necessarily connect to the system until it annexes. It just means that we have it in our sphere of influence so that should we choose to either serve water to it or use it to serve water to somebody else, we have that ability already. I mean, it makes the annexation that much easier. Unless
Director
I'm
Okay,
mistaken.
Director Garcia, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I'm following. I think that yeah, we have to include it in our sphere of influence so that we have the option whether to purchase it outright at a later date if it serves our purposes.
but don't we have, but I'm saying if we're doing that with the Wainwright French property, don't we also have to do that with the Sia property?
That's what she's proposing.
But also the Saya property, that's already included in the state map. And part of that is already annexed into our district, part of Saya Ranch. It may even be the part we want to put the well on.
Right, part of it, but not all of it. So it is the part I think we want to put the well on. But if they're going to do a further, right now they're talking about, they were, I think, mistaken in talking about the fact that they have water rights under that property and selling water. I don't know, but they're talking about putting a development on it. It just seems like that would be a good thing to also include. Should they even? I don't even know if they're gonna. They could fight that part, but. If they're not going to fight that part, that would be good to do also, because if they do propose to put a development there, it would also save them money on annexing into the.
As long as it doesn't cost too much, there's no reason not to add it. But if it does cost a considerable amount more, then we could just make them pay for it if they want to join us later, which they'll have to if they want to do a development.
Right. But at this point, I'm not positive the well property is within our boundaries, but I believe it is.
I believe that it's run, our district runs all the way up to before their trailer, and that's all in the area where we want to put our well.
Can we verify that, Dee?
Yep. Yeah, we can verify that.
I'm emailing you guys the maps I sent you folks earlier last week.
Because I was going to say, I don't have a map, so I don't know. I just remember trying to remember back what was hanging behind on the wall.
I know those maps. Those maps definitely show that where we want to put the well is within the new boundaries. But I believe that a lot of those I believe that area is already in our district.
Well, that's what we need to know, because the point of the whole thing this is the point for me. That property, if Saya ends up being a good place for a well, whether Lake of the Woods happens or not, we need to make sure that that property that we're drilling our test well on is in the current Fraser Park boundary.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Or
they're
at
already
least
under
the sphere of influence, so we can, if we decide at a later date to put a well there, that it's already there, we annex the property and we do the well. So.
Yep, I agree.
So.
So
um,
I'd like to move forward. I'd like to make a motion regardless of what D, proposes. I mean, hopefully he's not proposing some ridiculous amount of money, but regardless of, I believe that we need to move forward on making all of those things I just mentioned part of our sphere of influence and cutting it into two separate spheres of influence. One for the Fraser Park PUD boundaries sphere of influence, and one for the larger
Lake of the Woods.
planning project boundaries.
Okay,
As long as we don't have to reapply, because that's what cost
We
a
don't-
lot last time.
Okay, she's making a motion.
I second that.
Okay. The motion is on the table. You had another comment, Director Kelling?
No, it's fine, go.
Okay, so, roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson is absent. Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye, and Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Aye, okay. So, the question
Motion
is,
passed.
who's gonna get, D, the specific information? We need to make sure that someone's on this right
I
away.
think you and I need to do that, Director Nyman. We're already part of the ad hoc for all this stuff. So I think we need to work on this separately. He needs to give us a proposal. We need that map put back up in the Fraser Park office or somewhere accessible, because it's very hard for me to read the little emailed maps. And I really need to see it on the larger drawn map that Dee submitted to us earlier, that's in color and much easier to read. And so I don't know what happened to that map, but we need to have it put back up somewhere that we can get to it.
And
Well,
where do
we'll have to
we,
get one from, we'll have to get one from D to put back up. I mean, I may be able to find it, but going through all of our maps and we put up new bulletin boards and stuff. So going through all the maps, trying to find Wolf Tank and all that stuff, who knows how long it would take us. He could
no, we're
print us-
talking about Lake of the Woods.
It's
Yeah,
a
that's
pretty
what I'm saying.
obvious
That's what I'm
map.
saying. That's what I'm saying. But those maps came off the wall when we put up new bulletin boards, and then they got put with the other maps in the office, and now we got 150 maps stacked, or 100 maps stacked up in the office. So I can look, but if it's pretty easy for D to print it, I believe, right, D?
Yep.
All right, I'll just pick it up and then we'll have it.
And Dee, before you print that out again, I would like you and Tiffany to both do some research and look back in all of your records, because I could have sworn that we already had you redraw the map. I could have sworn that you showed us a redrawn map and that you resubmitted it to the state. I recall you reporting on that. And if that's the case, we need the amended map that included the LDS church.
No problem.
And then if you're willing, Director Nyman, to do that as part of the ad hoc, we can move forward as soon as we can look at a map, as soon as D can. I think the first step would be for D to see if he has the other map, the redrawn map with LDS. If he doesn't, he needs to send us the old map where it's easy and big and, easy to see. And then we need to find all the APN numbers with Johnny, and we need to decide what APNs are in which sphere of influence and give that to D so that he can give us the price to redraw. And then we need to find I think we started researching the price to do that with, we need to talk a little bit more. I think D had already talked and David already talked a little bit to various people, but I think D had already talked to Mr. Rice at LAFCO, and also I forgot his boss's name, but anyway, so we would need to move forward on that to get the exact pricing on that stuff too.
Well, I'm available, all next Thursday.
And look,
So if we can get the map before
Thursday would be perfect for me. The 3rd you're talking about?
the 3rd. So if we could get the map before the 3rd, D,
Okay.
And I could meet you at the district office, I guess, if we get the map before then.
What ad hoc one is this?
This is part of the planning part of the project ad hoc. It's just sort of a offshoot. We might have to, I don't know, it's halfway in the project and halfway not. So I don't know how the other board directors want to deal with that. Do you want to make another ad hoc and roll them in together, or what do you want to do? It's halfway part of the planning project and halfway not.
It's close enough just to stick with the one ad hoc, ain't it?
I'm hoping
Yeah,
the
I would think
directors
so.
are okay with that. I can't vote on
Okay.
that. That's up to them.
That's fine. That sounds perfectly fair.
Okay. So what time do you want to meet, Director
10
Schoenberg?
a.m.
10 a.m. Okay, 10 a.m. is good for me.
So I think that allows us to move back to 4A and have a vote.
Okay, okay, so on 4A, so I would entertain a motion that we approve.
I'll
Huh?
make that motion. I'll make that motion.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
move that we allow the Wainwright French properties in the license agreement. I move that we allow D to redefine the license agreement for 2 years rather than 5. For
I
the
second that.
both Wainwright and French properties.
Director Garcia has seconded it.
One
Okay.
question, quick question.
Okay,
4A, that test well only applies to the French rain white?
yes. Yes, it's only for, this motion only is for the Wainwright property, which happens to be 2 properties, and it's co-equally owned by French and Wainwright, but we've just been calling it the Wainwright property.
Yeah, but
Can I explain that to you, Director Kelling?
so I didn't know.
Director Kelling, can I explain that?
Yeah,
Okay, so we already got a signature from Hikmat. The
Yeah, but
sale property is going to court, and so we can't get a signature. We're going to do pre-condemnation hearings on it. And the only one left is the Wainwright French, which will not sign unless we change it to 2 years. Does that make sense?
okay, that's why we don't need a signature from the other. Okay,
We're only voting on changing the Wainwright license agreement to from 5 years to 2 years.
Correct. No second to the motion right now.
There is a second.
Oh,
Director.
Garcia, I'm sorry.
So are you clear on what we're voting?
yeah,
Okay, roll call of Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson is absent. Director Kelling.
aye.
Director Nyman is an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, 4-0, 1 absent. Okay, moving on to,
No. 13.
on to 13. Okay, discussion vote application water surface service APN 255-520-02. Okay, a discussion vote on policy and procedure for annexation.
Okay, can I speak to this?
Yes, Director Schoenberg.
We cannot move forward on the annexation until we move forward on everything we just discussed. So right now, we need to hold off, and we're going as quickly as we can. My apologies that we can't do it instantly, but we need to move forward on the sphere of influence. As soon as we have all the information on that and the 2 maps, then we can move forward to obtain the sphere of influence. We may or may not want to go in with the property owners on that. I don't believe it's that expensive. And then we would be able to move forward on A, B, and C. Right now, I don't believe that we can move forward on any of it until we at least do that.
I thought Lavco, 2 weeks ago, the gentleman from Lavco said that we could.
No, we have to have them in the sphere of influence. That's the first thing that we need to do.
I thought he said that they were.
They're not in the sphere of
They're
influence.
drawn into the larger sphere of influence that we need to. We just voted, we just motioned to break it into two. We have to break it into two. We have to apply to LAFCO. We have to pay for the sphere of influence, and then we can move forward. Sorry, I'm getting impatient.
No. Okay.
Do you have a comment, Sam or Kim?
Hi, thank you for inviting. It was my understanding, and I am the rookie at all this, and you folks are the pros, but it's my understanding that Mr. Rice from LAFCO 2 weeks ago did say something that we were on that original map, and that there was some vehicle that indicated the fact that you could move forward. Again, you're the expert. But I remember him saying that we were on the good map.
Can we wait? Hold on. What we just voted on was we cannot use the map that was submitted to LAFCO. It's too large and it includes all of Lake of the Woods. It includes all this other stuff, which is why we just went through this lengthy discussion and motion and vote so that we can break it up into two maps so that we can help you.
Okay, thank you.
Because, so see, the thing is with the map that they currently have, that happens to be the map that is for the annexation that may happen 3 or 4 years down the road with Lake of the Woods that we're working on. And so we need to do a separate map and go ahead and get you in the sphere of influence and file that, and that would allow us to go forward.
Okay, I understand.
And that's why I'm being so pushy and obnoxious tonight, so that we can move that forward, so that we can actually help you. Otherwise, it's going to just sit for another month.
Okay, can I just ask, and you can tell me, be quiet. Is there any way that we can get any kind of somewhat of an assurance? Basically, our escrow time is running out, and I've got to make a decision to move forward and purchase this property or back off. And without water, I would back off.
So can I address that?
Sure, please.
Yes,
do.
go ahead, Director Schoenberg.
Okay, yes, that's why we're trying to move forward with all this. We're able to give you water now. You just need to be in the sphere of influence. I mean, I believe we haven't gotten a final okay from D yet. We need to get that, and we did get you like a proposed drawing of your RV park, and we're in the works to make sure that we can actually supply water. But without us moving forward on this mapping, which we're going to try to like press forward as quickly as we can and get into the sphere of influence, but really we should be able, to my understanding, to provide you water. We just need to move.
Remember, we got the map from Sam. What we were going to do was have D look at the capacity and decide whether or not for sure he believes that there is, but he hasn't had a chance to even actually look at it yet to decide for sure that we had the capacity for that. I believe
Right.
we do. We have an 8-inch and a 6-inch tied in with a 4-inch, and it's, it's in the lower part of our town. So I'm sure that we can, but I still wanted an engineer to look at that. And that was going to be the first step, but
It's actually the second step in some ways, because we're already trying to put it into this, or they can happen simultaneously. But basically, before we can, I mean, I think it's very likely. You think it's very likely, correct, Johnny? But we need to get an assurance from our engineer, and we need to move forward on the sphere of influence, and then we can give you that letter.
When do you think you can have that information on the capacity, D?
Here's a couple of things I want to throw in here, and I think it bears on this. We are currently trying to get well number 5 replaced. Well number 5 is, I think, patched up and will probably last 1 or 2 more years. I think it's in pretty good shape. But if we lose well 5, we're really going to be short here. And my thoughts on any annexation or anything would be that we would issue a conditional will-serve letter that's conditioned on replacing well number 5. And only at that time would we be able to supply water to new properties. Now, Johnny, I know we have a good sized lines and everything, but I'm just wondering, I mean, just as your engineer, I just want to advise you that, we are depending on a well that
Right.
has
Dee-
been patched, and we don't know for sure whether or not we can even guarantee that well will last until we get a replacement in. So
Right,
I'm
Dee,
a little hesitant.
I think that this is a little out of order because we need to also discuss 5. So I was going to motion that we put 5 directly after this discussion so that we can move forward on a proposal I have for well 5. So that we could, again, everything's like interacting with everything else. So I absolutely agree with you, but I have a proposal to move forward with well 5 and not, so I think that also would have to do with 13, but I think we just have to ask them to sort of understand that we're doing our best to move forward, but that there are a few different obstacles that are in our way before we can supply a letter.
Okay. I completely understand that, and I completely understand. So we'll just be a little patient. Would you say if we asked another 30 days on our escrow, if they'd granted that, we might be able to fit into that time frame?
Ooh, I don't know, because I need to, I won't know anything until the directors say something, so you may want to stick around for our discussion on well number 5.
Okay, very well. Happy to.
So I'd like to, can I make another motion, Director?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I'd like to move that we move discussion on well number 5 forward. But this is you know what? These are all together, and I just realized that I just totally messed up our whole thing because the state, because they like interact with each other, but 5 doesn't interact with the state. So I don't know. I think we better finish the state stuff and then discuss 5. I don't think I can move it forward yet because we're being reimbursed by the state for the discussion of everything else. And we already kind of moved forward with 13, and that was my bad because that doesn't have anything to do with the state. We should have noted the times.
Okay, well, I don't think what we have left with the state is too much more. So let's go on to C. Discussion vote, and we can come back. Discussion vote, update on advertisement for bids. So D, don't mean to call you back.
Yeah, I was looking for.
Well, I can say something quickly before D starts. D called and the ad hoc and asked that we do need to make a motion under C that we extend time for the bids to come back for the opening of the bids, because the people who are going for the bids need to be able to advertise with the minority businesses, and it takes a little bit longer than the 30 days we gave them. So I believe D was going to ask for an additional 10 days.
That's correct, Lisa, and well said. That's exactly what the situation is. The bidders have to have 30 days in order to advertise for disadvantaged businesses to participate in the project in some way, maybe as a supplier or whatever. And we didn't give them enough time, and that's my mistake. And it occurred. Well, it came to light just really the day after we put it, Monday, after we put it out to bid. And so we need to give these guys about 10 more days in order to, for them to have time to go ahead and advertise and comply with the DBE requirements that we have in our specifications. So I'm suggesting that we move the bid opening to Monday, October 5th.
Okay, can I entertain a
Okay, question D.
Director Kelly, go ahead.
I thought Lisa said that they had already went out to bid, so you just want to extend the 30-day to a 40-day?
Yes.
So can I make a motion?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so on number 4C, I'd like to move that we allow our engineer, D. Jasper and Associates, to extend the bidding time to 10 more days, which would give them 40 rather than 30 days.
I second that motion.
Okay, Director Garcia has seconded that motion. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson is absent. Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg,
Aye.
motion carried 4-0, 1 absent.
Okay, that notification will go out tomorrow to the plan holders and to the bid exchanges.
Okay,
Perfect.
all right. D, discussion vote, update on environmental work. That's you, Mr. Warner.
Well, I don't know, did Lisa and Brahma, did you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll talk about it if that's okay with you.
Okay,
Director
go
Hyde.
ahead, Director
Even though
Schoenberg.
I'm monopolizing the meeting. Okay, so basically what happened with this is on our phone call with the state, it was brought to our attention. Why now? I have no idea, but the state said that we've already put out 2 NOEs. They're non-specific NOEs. So NOEs, notice of exemption, they were non-specific. They weren't specifically tied to the test well sites, but there have actually been 2 applications done and processed made by the state. Why they just told us this now after we've had a meeting with them every month for the last, I don't know how many months, and it just came up, I don't know. But I'm of the mind that we already paid an amount of money for our environmental people to come out, look at the sites, start the work, and it was brought up, because there isn't enough money, so they wanted to use some of the money from that to pay for other things. But we already have a chunk of that money allocated and already used, basically. So I feel that we should just move forward with the 3 NOEs. We'll have site-specific NOEs just in case there's a question, because it's possible that we might get sued, or there might be litigation in regard to the pre-condemnation hearing and the possible what do you call it? Brain is had a brain fade, but anyway, I think it's really important that we cross our T's and dot our I's, and that we go ahead, since we've already gone this far, and just allocate the money for them to finish the 3 site-specific NOEs, and therefore we're kind of covered just in case the property owners have an issue.
And I'd just like to add, there was some back and forth with Lawrence, and the environmental person, Tom Dotson, responded, and he summed it up. He said, one of the sites apparently has some controversy, and the owner could prepare a legal challenge and point out that the state's 2019 notice of exemption does not cover specific sites and is therefore invalid under CEQA. So he was just saying, I think what Lito's saying is that it's good to have a site-specific notice of exemption, but he left it up to the board, to you folks, to decide.
But we've
So-
already committed a chunk of that money because he already came out and started working on it, correct?
Yes. They were out. Yep.
So my proposal would be that we have 5,000 allocated under the TA funds from Self-Help Enterprises. And my proposal would be that we move forward, that we use those TA funds as they were originally allocated, and that we not, the state unfortunately came to us with that information too late for us to stop the process. So I'm going to move that we finish the environmental work on the 3 site-specific NOEs.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Director Garcia has seconded that motion. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson is absent. Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye, and Director Schoenberg.
Is an aye.
Okay, motion carried 4-0-1 absent. So yeah, have them finish it up and file the NOEs, Dave. And
Okay,
we'll, we're just going to tell the state that, we're too far along in the,
We are
But-
too far along. I don't know why they
No.
brought it.
no, I agree. Plus his point about litigation is better that we have a specific NOE and that's, I think we need to do that. So, all right. Okay. Okay, discussion vote on using district funds to pay outstanding balances.
No. TA funds already spent, 4E.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm lost. 4E, discussion vote, review of TA funds already spent. Okay. We've already, which one is that? That's on, wasn't that E and F?
now, technical assistance funds we have technical assistance funds and we're waiting for a work plan to be approved in order to
Right.
pay back D and also the lawyer. And so there's some money out there outstanding for work that's already been done. And I
Right.
understood that the district was considering covering those funds until such time as we get the work plan approved and we're able to reimburse the district.
Yeah, that's F, Dave.
But that's the same thing. E and F are the same. They're together because what he's talking about is the money has already been spent. But he doesn't have the approval from the new work plan that he had submitted for those funds.
Right, so I think I believe that we can not move I mean, there's really nothing we can do on E right now because we're waiting for, approval on the work plan. And so we just have to spin our wheels on that. And if we move on to F, we can just pay the outstanding balances and hope that the.
Right. Well, that's part of the discussion. I mean, basically, what he's informing the board is that we owe specifically, hold on just a second.
Right, but you really need to address that. We're out of order unless we address it on F first.
No, we have to discuss the issue first. We haven't, that's voting to say we're going to pay it. Right now, we're talking about the funds that have already been spent. So I'm telling you what the funds are that were already spent, which are going to be the same thing as F.
Okay.
Okay, so basically we have invoices that for D Jasper and Associates that total $11,356.44, and that money is on the new TA plan, but it's been spent already. We have invoices and it has not been approved by the state yet. We also under Young and Wooldridge, we used up $411.50 was the last TA money we had for the legal expenses. And so that left a balance on the invoice of work that's already been done by Young and Wooldridge for the pre-commendation was $1,934.79. So that is the work that's already been done on this project so far. And now we can move on to F. So F is, we need to have a motion if we're willing to, if the district is willing to pay the outstanding balances until the work plan is approved. So basically, we would put out the money. Linda would have to keep those invoices separate and hold on to them until we get reimbursed by Self-Help Enterprises once the state sends the money, because the state would send the money to you, correct?
Right. Yes. And I just have a clarification on the D. Jasper and Associate billings. I've been frustrated at work, and I have a meeting with the guy who who keeps our payments and our records. I've showed that we didn't pay, we still have money left over. So I'm estimating that the district may only have to cover around $7,518.22. So it could go from that much up to 12,000 plus, whatever that you have. But I have a meeting with him tomorrow, and I would request that.
Okay, so we'd have to have Linda recut. You'd have to give us the new information, and we could approve it, but we'd have to recut the check.
Not
The
to
one for
exceed.
D. Well, no,
Yeah.
because we've already cut the checks. So they're in our financials today. They're cut to be able to go out. But it's okay. We can void the check and recut a new check for the smaller amount, which I would prefer to do. Linda, go ahead. You need to unmute yourself.
Hi, are there going to be any anticipated future invoices that we would be paying before we get the grant money? The reason why I ask, if that's the case, perhaps the amount that David just mentioned could be applied to those so that we do not have to stop pay or cut a new check.
Well,
Can I make a comment on that?
go ahead, Director Schoenberg.
I don't believe that's a good idea. It's going to be difficult enough to keep track of what's going on right now, and I don't want it to carry over into future invoices. So I would highly recommend that we not do that, and that we recut the check should we need to, and that we hold back the payment if D is okay with that. We're good for it, but that we hold back the payment and we hear from Dave in terms of what's been paid and what's not. And then I also have a question for D on one of the invoices.
Okay, just before we do that, and that's the thing, Dave, because I think the main thing is that we use up the money from the previous TA, and I'd rather have that paid to the invoices that are already there, and then we do the balance, because that way we don't, there's no confusion later on in the state saying, oh, you know what I'm saying? It's easier to track.
Frustrated on our part because I was given those balances and I looked into it and I felt the balances were wrong. And yes, we do have money.
Yeah.
But it's assigned to specific things. So we haven't spent all of it, but we probably, a chunk of that is going to be going towards engineering, which is the outstanding balance.
Right. Okay. So we can, what we'll have to do, that check will just hold out. So whatever you need us to pay, just resubmit it. Can you resubmit it to us with what it should be? And then we'll have Linda void this check and we'll cut a new one next week and get it out to D, where we can approve it.
Okay. Not to exceed that amount that you have there.
Right. So that could be in the motion.
Okay,
So are you saying I'll replace that check before the next board meeting?
Yes, we'll need you to come in, and then I can run the check around and get signatures, so we can get it out to D. Jasper and Associates.
I have two questions I would like to, or two things I would like to address before we move on.
Okay, go ahead, Director Schoenberg.
Okay, so first of all, D, when we, either D or Dave, I don't know who sent this to us, but if we could get a clear copy of invoice number 4, I can't even read the invoice number on it. And then if also, I have a question for D on the report on well site collection. What does that mean? You charge for it twice. One of the charges is 1,287, and I'm just curious, that's on invoice 20-04034. There's two different charges on the 13th and 14th, well site collection. You there, D?
Gotta unmute yourself, D.
Unmute you. Unmute it. There you go.
There we go. I'll have to take a look, Lisa. Can you tell me, give me those invoice numbers again and the dates?
Okay, invoice 20-04034. And the specific dates are 4/13/2020 and 4/14/2020. It just says principal engineer report on well site collection. And I don't know what that report is because I don't recall getting that report.
Should say selection, and I'm guessing it probably has to do with the geophysical work. But
Okay, selection makes a lot more sense. So can
Yeah.
you look into that?
I will. And what was the second one, Lisa? It was 0434?
They both say exactly the same thing, 4/13/2020 and 4/14/2020.
Okay.
One
On
of
that
them,
same invoice.
the 13th is for 396, the 14th is for 1,287, and they're both part of invoice number 20-04034.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. So, I would entertain a motion.
So I'd like to move, if you will allow me.
Yes, go ahead, Director.
Okay, I'd like to move that we pay the outstanding balances with an amendment. So we use district funds to pay the outstanding balances that we're waiting for TA money on. And the two separate balances are for Young Wooldridge, which we can currently pay. The amount for Young Wooldridge, which is two separate invoices, is, sorry, hold on. It's invoice 67998 and 67999. And the total for that due is 1,934.79. We have a check tonight, and I would like to, as part of this motion, allow us to sign and send that check off. And then as part of this motion, the collection of invoices for D. Jasper, we need to hold off on that until we have information. So we're approving it in concept that we be able to pay district funds, but we need to wait for further information from Dave Warner.
No, we need to be able to pay no more than the 11,000 once Dave Warner gives us the figure so we can do the check and send it out.
I don't think you can make that friendly amendment since you're chairing. And I don't even know if we need it because we just need the correct. Okay, yes, up to, so I'm gonna just put that add that to the emotion without it being a friendly amendment. So sorry, Tiffany, but I'm gonna add that not exceed, what is the amount? I'm sorry, 11,356.44.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Gibson is absent. Director Kelling's an aye. Director Nyman is an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 4-0, 1 absent. So Dave, once you resubmit the amount that that check should be, we'll have Linda come in and cut a new check, and we'll get it signed and send out to Dee.
Yes, I'll be
Yeah.
meeting with the,
Can I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead, Linda.
D, I think, isn't D going to be checking on the correction on the invoice and then communicate that with Dave so I know what the exact amount I need to cut?
Well, I don't believe it's going to be a correction, but he will verify what it is and then
we had some extra, I believe we had extra money that we can pay D, so that would reduce the amount the district would have to cover. So
Yeah,
I was-
that's not what she's asking. What she's asking is that I had said that there was a question on one of the invoices, and as long as it's for well selection and not well collection, then I do not believe the amounts would change. And I believe it is selection. I think it's a typo.
So can you get on that tomorrow, Dee, and get that over to Dave?
Yeah.
Let us know. Just send
I
us an
will.
email. Just send us an email confirming
I
that
will.
that it is well selection and that the amounts are correct.
Yes, I'll get with Kelly as soon as she gets in, probably about noon or so, and we'll go through it. So I'll
Okay.
get an email off to you as soon as I,
Yeah, so just give the email to Dave. Make sure you just include Lisa, me, and Dave,
Okay.
and you can Johnny and Tiffany. So, okay, and then once we have that, Dave, and you give us the information, then we'll have Linda cut the check.
Okay.
Okay. G, discussion vote update on claims and payment payouts. We don't have any claims, Dave, at this point, or?
I saw that the claim 4 was approved for payment, but I don't think you folks have received the check yet. No.
No.
We haven't even received 3 yet.
Okay. And yeah, it takes the state time to pay out.
Take some time to do anything. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
I feel like Rip Van Winkle. I should go to sleep for 100 years and maybe things will change.
I feel like Bill Murray on Groundhog's Day.
Okay, on to number 5, discussion vote update well number 5 emergency replacement project. A, update on USDA
Are we now done with the
Grant-
state? We have to, no,
Yes,
no,
we
yeah,
need
we're-
to, we need to
728. We're done on the state. Now we're on to number 5, 5A, update on USDA grant loan application. Okay, you want to take this, Director Schoenberg?
Yes, so the USDA is basically telling us at this point that we're only going to get a loan no matter what we do. And so I have some issues. I spent a whole bunch of time going back over the PER and Director Nyman as well with D. There are still some issues on the PER, which the PER is only really needed if we're going to go forward with the USDA grant loan. I have a proposal that we, which is actually B. So I'm going to wait till we get to B, but the update is that it's going nowhere, that they want us to still finish the PER, that there's more work to be done on the PER before we can resubmit it to the USDA, that the USDA is not going to give us anything but a loan. In order to give us the loan, we have to have bridge financing on the loan, which is going to be, somebody's dog is barking, not mine, which is going to be an issue because we need to move forward. That's going to take us some time too. So basically we're at a standstill until we do a couple of things. We need to finish the PER. Yeah, I'm very ADD, so I have problems when there's crazy stuff going on. We need to finish the PER.
Outside?
Can you mute yourself, Director Garcia, please?
Sorry.
Okay, so we can't move forward with the USDA unless we finish the PER, which we're still in the process of. Even if we move forward, we need to get a loan before we can do anything else. And then they need to okay us. And by that time, we missed our window of opportunity to dig the well this spring. So basically, I know Dee said it may hold up for a year or 2 years, but when we get to B, I would like to address a separate proposal. So that's where
Okay.
we're at on the
Okay,
update.
so we're on to B, discussion vote on funding needed and where to get it.
Okay, so I would like to propose that we rethink everything that we've done so far and that we use our capital improvement money to pay for this well so that we can go out to bid in a timely manner so that we don't have to like keep spinning our wheels and so that we can go ahead and probably dig the well in spring, early spring, or well, spring once the snows are over. So I would like to propose, now the problem with this is that we need to further go over all of our different accounts. So this would need to be, we need to, in this discussion, probably take a moment with Linda and go over the amount of money in each account and what it could be allocated, what it's going to go for, and if this is going to leave us high and dry. But my proposal is that we that we move forward on well 5 with our own money out of pocket that we've saved for this very reason, because the RCAC, when we did our rate study, told us to put that money into a reserve so that we could pay for issues just like this if we couldn't get a loan and we couldn't get a grant. And we can probably get a loan, but it's going to take longer. So, and there's a whole bunch of hoops to jump through. So I'm proposing that we discuss right now all of our different accounts, that we make a decision if you're willing to accept the proposal to move forward on well 5 out of pocket.
Can I add something?
Sure, go ahead, Dave.
And I don't know if this, I was on a phone call with a system and the state, and that system's well, it was in a very similar situation. They aren't out of water, and the state was moving forward and discussing granting them funds. And you're in a position where you can go. I would recommend, if you want to try and be very insistent, you could make a presentation to the state folks, including and say, look, we're willing to go part of the way. We need funding, grant funding. Can you guys help us out? And you're in a worse situation than the entity that I was dealing with.
Financially, are we in a better situation than they are? Same thing that killed us with the USDA. Is that going to kill us with the state?
No, what you could propose is that you could use part of your money. And that you're asking for, hey, you can't get the money from USDA, but you'd like the money, some of the money from the state. So half or something to that effect. And I know that they turned you folks down. They said you're not out of water. This other system isn't out of water either. And they're able to supply water to their users. But the state, they made a very strong effort and impressed the state. And the state is moving forward with looking at getting them grant. I'm just saying it's worth a try.
I think part of the problem is all the time spent on the PER, all the time spent on gathering information and all that stuff. And then you just get shot down and then you're no farther ahead, but you've already spent a bunch of money for it. So,
And the time is gone. I mean, we've been working on this, what, almost a year now?
The interesting thing is that you folks already have the engineer's report done. You have the, I'm not talking about going to USDA. You have an engineer's report done that identifies the project, it identifies the cost. You have the design completed. You could potentially go out to bid. You're that close. So you've already invested money in that stuff. You've got it done. You have the well site. You have things lined up and you're ready to go. And you just need to impress folks that you absolutely need it. And I'm frustrated that people weren't impressed earlier. But I don't think it would be that difficult to at least make the case. I don't think they're gonna.
Oops. Sorry, go ahead. Well, since I interrupted you, Dave, sorry about that. I would definitely be in favor of that, but I would be in favor of dropping the USDA altogether, not moving forward on that, which will affect C and D. Dropping that, I'm definitely in favor of spending half of our money if the state would grant us the other half, and to try to move forward with that before we just out of pocket spend all of it. But it would have to go very quick, because I don't want it to go, I don't want us to, although if we were in the process with the state and that went under, it may be advantageous too. But anyway, yeah, I'm definitely I'm not willing to keep moving on with the USDA for a loan only, and us jumping through other entities' loan process first, and us spinning our wheels for another year to 2 years on this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lisa.
Understood.
Hey, Johnny, where's the monkey wrench so I can throw it in the well so we can get the state to help?
Don't say that out loud.
So the question is, so how would we move forward with this, Dave?
I would recommend, you've already got documentation of what you put into there. You've got a cost, you've got proof that the plans and specs are done, you've got an engineer's report, and you have the well site, and you also have the environmental completed on it. That knocks a lot of stuff out of the way. So I would go and say, hey, we visited you folks a year and a quarter ago, and you turned us down. We still need this. And you would also say, we're a severely disadvantaged community. We have 2 wells, 2 functional wells. And this one is on the, you've already invested money. So you build the case, and you also stress that it's absolutely needed. And you need to,
So we would what, call them? We would send them an email? How would this?
So
it could be,
we
you
need
could
to
reach
make it,
out to folks.
before we do this, we're out of order. So I guess we're not, because we have funding needed, but the funding needed needs to be moved out of the USDA column. So it needs to be, we need to put this on another agenda, and it needs to no longer be through the USDA, although I guess it doesn't specifically, it doesn't specifically say on BUSDA, it says it on A, and it implies it in B, C, and D. But I think it would behoove us to move it, to change it slightly on the agenda. I mean, I think we could still move forward, but I think we need to put it as a state agenda item before we do much else, and then move forward with it.
Discussion vote on funding needed and where to get it.
I mean, I think we can approve going forward with the state. But I think
Right.
then we need to bump it to a different agenda item.
Well, yeah, at that point. Yes.
So I would move that we drop the USDA application where it is, that we move forward with well 5 funding, that we apply once again to the state with all of the caveats that Dave Warner mentioned. We would need to just clean up the PER and drop the USDA stuff off of that, the engineering report. And then if the state does not, and as part of that proposal, I would propose that we spend part of our money out of pocket. We already spent 97,000 out of pocket. So maybe we add another, whatever it is, 400,000. I don't know. We approach them for half of the money, and go, or even 3/4 of the money. I don't know what I don't know what would be a good idea. We can talk about that later, but that we approach the state, and if that doesn't work, that we go out of pocket.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson is absent. Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. 401 absent. And just a note for Tiffany, I think we need to make sure on the regular meeting that we have the wolf tank on there, because in part of this discussion about money, you know, it's going to cost us, you know, like anywhere from 200 to 230,000 to do the wolf tank, and so we'll be taking that from the other account. So we need to have that on the agenda to get it approved and move forward with that.
Got it.
Okay.
And as part of this, we would completely drop off the USDA. I mean, we would change well 5 to, we would just make some changes on the well 5. It would be part of the state money, but not planning money. And we would not, I mean, I guess we would still need to amend the PER, even though we don't I mean, we would still need to fix the engineering report and pull off the extra stuff that we were putting in there to appease the USDA. And we would be able to, I guess we would keep claims and payouts on there until we decide whether it's coming from the state or not.
Okay.
Is that a motion or what?
No, I think that's just for another agenda item. I mean, for fixing the agenda items for next time.
So at this point, we're not going to do anything with the PER. So we're on to C, discussion vote on amended PER. We did work on that with D. So we're probably going to have to make some changes if we go to the state, D.
Yeah, no problem. I
We
think,
love you, D.
I think I could probably quote this PER verbatim by heart, I think now.
You and me both.
Yeah. But we need to find out what the state's going to require from us in the way of a report. And I just remind you that we're ready to go to bid. So, you know, when we're ready to go to bid on that well, we have a draft set of plans and specs already. So, you know, when the board feels comfortable and, you know, we get the financing ironed out, we're ready to go.
I think our next move would be as soon as possible to have a meeting between the ad hoc and Dee and Dave, you know, have a meeting to approach the state and then ask for a meeting with the state.
Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, there was yeah, I'd be able to work with the ad hoc on the folks you need to reach out to. But have your game plan ready.
Okay. So I think I'm gonna die.
Wait till we get the well. Wait. Yeah, can't take that.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. He's up for election in November, so.
Yeah, so you better hope I get reelected. Or
We're
you'll
ready
have to
to go.
start over with somebody else.
Let's get those plans and specs on the road.
Okay.
Just so for so for our friends that stayed on here, Sam and Kim LaFoca, so basically what Dee was bringing up on 5 that we need to go forward on that well, we're gonna again try to go forward as quickly as we can on it, but I believe that, you know, again, it still puts us off a little bit, but I believe the wheels will be in motion for us to move forward on that more quickly than we could with USD.
All righty. So for us, just stay tuned.
Yeah, I think it's stay tuned, and we're doing the best we can and moving forward as quickly as we can, and hopefully we can do all this stuff, you know.
So when did we want to have a meeting on this?
ASAP. right away, because I'm hoping we can go out to bid before, soon enough to drill it before next, before 2 years from now. Or in the middle of the winter.
Next spring, right?
Yeah, next spring would be the ideal.
Maybe we can have it at 11 o'clock on Thursday.
Dee and can you guys do that? Dee and Dave?
I lost contact with you folks. What date?
11 o'clock on Thursday.
December 3rd?
I'm good.
I say I'm good.
Okay,
Okay,
So-
so let's arrange a meeting for that.
yeah, because I have a really busy week next week. I have a bunch of tests and stuff going on. I'm
Should we
trying.
get together? Should we get together by phone with Dave and Dee and plan the sales pitch and the strategy before we get them on the phone? Because Dave's saying that we need to have a strong presentation.
No,
Yeah,
that was what the meeting was. That wasn't going to the state yet.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying set it up with the state. for
No,
that day.
we would do that. We would do that on Thursday.
Well, that makes sense. My apologies.
So, okay. All righty. Oh my goodness. All right, moving along. Where am I? Okay, we're on to 6, discussion vote update on meter replacement project. The state is ground to a halt.
They have ground to a halt and we have to rattle their cage. Oscar's not here today. But that's someone that that is a thing that needs to be reached out to. I guess the squeaky wheel doesn't get any grease. So that's something else that needs to be reached out to. And you folks have good cause to need it. I mean, if you guys spend days running around reading meters, I've climbed the hills in Lake of the Woods. I don't want to read 1,300 meters in Fraser Park.
Yeah, and we're getting so many mainline leaks to trying to read the meters and maintain the system. It's super difficult.
Yeah, and documentation of all those issues helps your case. Oh,
Well, I definitely have documentation on all the leaks.
great. Yeah, and that just helps you.
So
Any way you can.
are you going to have Oscar rattle their cage?
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you, Dave. 7, discussion vote update on pipeline replacement project. And we have on there a discussion potholing and mapping. So,
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead, Johnny. No, it's fine.
I'm not really positive where we stand on this because we got potholing done. We figured out a lot of stuff. I know that we need to do more potholing. What I've come to the conclusion of is it was helpful to have HPS here for the Wolf booster tank, but we need to do more potholing. But with our backhoe, it's not as efficient or as quick. So we would need to rent a Mini X to get the other trails potholed. We still have Julian, Logan, and some more potholing on Oakmont and Oregon. And but a Mini X is about $1,800 a week, I think, to rent it. I may be able to get them down a little bit because we only do it 4 days a week, but it's still in our possession where other people can't use it. So if we're thinking about spending most of our money for the well, I don't know how much farther you want me to proceed with the mainline replacement.
Right. Well, because that's part of the discussion. Because I mean, in talking to Dee, he was talking about we don't really have a figure yet, but you're talking $200,000-$300,000 just for Manita Trail to do that replacement.
Well, actually, if I continue the potholing and I prove out what I believe is true, that there's C900, I proved it out all up and down Manita. Now there's PVC in the ground, and PVC goes down Laurel, and I firmly believe that it goes down Oregon, Oakmont, and continues up to where Manita taps into North End. That being the case, we would just have to have the money to do the tie-ins for the houses that are still off the steel. They would have to do the tie-ins onto the PVC, and then they would also have to cut out the steel that's in the road. So I believe that the infrastructure is there, but we would still need a contractor to come in and help do all those tie-ins, because you have to do, you would want to do it fairly quickly. Once you cut that steel, you got to have everybody already hooked up. And even
Right.
if we did it ourselves, that's a lot of, it's got to be at least 10 or 12 houses. That's a lot of side work while you're trying to chase leaks and maintain the regular system.
We could put together a set of plans that is for those tie-ins, Johnny. I think basically what we would do is note that, once we find the PVC in these trails, the map would show where we have found it, and it would also show what the connections have to look like and specify the connections. And I think that would be pretty simple, pretty straightforward once we have that PVC located. And then we would put that out for a bid for the tie-ins.
And I would think that would bring it down substantially on the cost, would it
Oh,
not?
yeah.
Yeah. So, and the other two trails that I also feel are the most important, I think that they also are in a similar situation where there happens to be PVC, but the steel that they left in the road and left people hooked up to is what's failing, even though there's PVC that we could hook up to. So we do need to do some potholing, but maybe we need to put together a little bit of a game plan and bring it back at the next board meeting and then have the board vote on that.
Yeah.
Actually, I would propose that we additionally work on that Thursday, since we're already taking time to do that. We really need to sit down with all the numbers in our budget and in our bank accounts and plan out what we can and can't do. I believe even with us doing even if we go completely out of pocket with the well, that we would still have money as long as it was, not too crazy to at least do Manita and also to do Wolf.
Yep.
Good to me.
Okay, we'll have to talk more about that. I'm not too sure. I mean, it depends on the cost. I mean, because if you're looking at two, or as long as it's not, if it's 200 or 300,000, we won't have the funds. So, but we can discuss this further.
Yeah. But I mean, yes. So I'm proposing Director.
Because Wolf Tank is what we have to get done right away. And that's a good chunk of the money from that one account. So
possibly up to $50,000. So yeah, or 230. So but I'm suggesting, Director Nyman, that we add to our Thursday meeting at least an hour additional, that we can discuss this and start to move forward on that.
Sure, I don't have a life.
And I also want to make note that I believe we've been spelling Wolf Tank incorrectly on all of our minutes and on the agendas. So I need us to look at the correct spelling for Wolf Tank, because I believe it's not WOLF.
No, it's got an E on the end.
It has an E on
Correct.
the end.
I know. I'm just saying. It's wrong.
Thank you.
Elisa always catches the stuff. All right. Okay. Review and approve state update minutes for August 2020.
Okay, I looked at those minutes and I'm okay with them. I would like to move that we approve the state phone call, conference call minutes for August 2020.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of director Garcia is seconded. Roll call of directors, Director Garcia.
I guess I
Aye.
should say, wait. Don't move forward yet. I need to put that little extra wording in there. I think that's something. So, hold on a second. Oh, and there is an amendment. I'm sorry. There's an amendment on there for Wolf Tank, I believe. So I would approve it with the amendments for where's that wording?
With the correction I mentioned and the possibility for additional amendments for typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
Exactly.
Amen.
So you'll correct the Wolf Tank and then that's it. Okay. Roll call of director. Do you accept that friendly amendment, Director Garcia?
Absolutely.
Okay. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, 401 absent. Okay, moving on to discussion vote, approve price plan for loaning the portable generator to Crystal Mutual Company, Water Company. Where do we stand on that, Johnny?
Well, actually, the state, Lawrence has contacted me a couple times asking about whether or not it would be possible to loan the generator to Krista. So I laid out the guidelines that if we're both out of power, obviously we can't do it. If Krista's out of power and we loaned
Right.
them the generator, but then we became out of power, it would immediately have to revert back to our district. And then that would leave Krista in a lurch. But as long as they understood that, then we could probably come to some terms, but you guys had to come up with the dollar amount. Now, I don't have a dollar amount to even throw out there for you. Let me
Okay,
see.
so we still have to work on that, because I thought you were gonna get with Pam and
Well, I was supposed to get with Pam today, but I worked nonstop from morning till night on leaks. So I couldn't do
no,
it.
I know, I'm not,
No, I
I'm not,
understand that you're not accusing. I'm just saying that's why I don't have more information. I just been swamped.
okay.
So
Pam, how much time, we need to get this done? How soon do we need to get this done? Because that's something that's, like everything we have needs to get done right now, so.
I know. Well, we have our board meeting on Monday, so we're gonna have to talk soon about renting because if we wait until October, we're probably out of luck for renting. Because the last year we were scrambling to try and get a rental. And I know Johnny's been swamped too, like the last 2 weeks, and I was out of town for three days. So we haven't gotten together. And Johnny, I'm sorry, I didn't realize Lawrence was contacting you because we are looking at trying to get a grant to get a permanent generator. And I had no idea. I let him know that those were the avenues we were looking at to try and rent with you guys. So maybe that's why he reached out to you, and I'm sorry. I should have let you know.
Okay, so should we put this on our regular planning meeting? Carry it over?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so why don't we do that, and hopefully before then you and Johnny can get together and maybe hash out some numbers and stuff, and then you can bring it to the board and we can see what we can do.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Pam. Thanks for being patient. Okay. All right. Do we want to take a brief recess?
No, keep going.
Okay.
Hours.
Okay. On to number 10, financial business. Discussion vote on accounts payable and financial information.
Okay, the total bills, which included the check to D Jasper, was $16,684.81. After subtracting the D Jasper check it goes down to $5,328.37. And then we'll have to add to that whatever the amount is that Dave gives us to cut the check. So let's say it's $7,000. So it'd be around between 12 and 13,000 would be the total.
Oh.
Also, the other amount that was related to the planning grant was the Young Woolridge check for $1,934.79 was included in that. So those are the two amounts. And when I get the exact amount for D. Jasper, I will do a separate schedule for these that we've paid out of pocket and keep those aside just like I did before so that we have a record of it.
Okay.
We are moving forward on the Young Woolridge. We're paying that tonight.
Right, that's included in the check. So I'm just letting you know that I'm going to track. Those were two checks that were related to the planning grant, and
Okay.
I'm going to keep those. I'm going to have a separate record tracking those until so that we know the total amount due us once their grant money comes in. The other checks were pretty much the same. There was one additional one. It's to Herc Rentals. I did record it as an equipment rental expense, but I didn't know if you wanted that reclassified differently. And it was something that Johnny noted to ask if it should be reclassified differently. So other than that.
Yeah, that's the mini X for the potholing that we're renting. So I believe that we want to take it out of what we were calling the emergency fund or the pipeline fund.
Oh, yeah. So well, it's not called any of those anymore. I'll go over that in a minute, but yeah, I think we need to track that separately, Linda, and I think I need to transfer money out of what was the pipeline that turned into capital improvement that's now called emergency.
Okay, so
Jerry, can you mute yourself, Jerry? Because I keep hearing all this background noise.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that I'm going to track that separately as far, and what should I call that tracking?
It's going to be part of the pipeline. Yeah, and I don't know, I don't know where we're at on that. So we just need to kind of keep it separately. And if we get money for that, or I'm not sure how we're going to move forward on that. Eventually, that's going to be money that we're probably going to ask the state for as part of a incentive project. But I don't know if they reimburse or not. That would be something Dave would know. So, but I think we should still track it separately, because basically it's sort of part of that whole redoing our pipeline that we would want to be. The bigger project would be an incentive project that would happen as part of the planning, or after the post or right before the planning turns into.
Okay, so then my next question is I expense that out to equipment rental. Should I make that part of the planning grant, or instead of equipment rental, leave it in equipment rental?
It's not part of the planning. It's a completely separate thing, but it would be part of the discussion we've been having on the pipeline replacement project.
So it may be reclassified to an asset rather than an expense?
No, it's not an asset. It's an expense. So I'm not sure, but it needs to, but it's not an O&M expense. It's an expense that I would be transferring out of the emergency, or the what we're calling the emergency reserve right now. Some of it we have to move forward on it. So some of the potholing, I mean, it's kind of both, because some of the potholing was for Wolf, and Wolf is going to be just an emergency project that we're moving forward on.
No, you were going to transfer that out of the capital replacement reserve, which is
the short-lived
short-lived asset, the new name. which we need to correct. Actually, also Linda, if you could correct all the names on the next balance sheet.
Yeah, once I get the full list from you guys, then I can do that.
Tiffany has the resolution, so she can give you the list.
Okay.
So if you would do that, Tiffany, that would be great.
Yep. And Linda, we already went to the bank. Director Nyman and I already went to the bank.
Okay, so the bank's aware of that, and I should start seeing those new names on the internet.
Yes,
Yeah.
hopefully so. She said she was gonna make the
Okay.
changes, so. All right.
So on that, Herc Reynolds, I'll keep it in equipment rental for now and until we know further information on it.
Okay. Linda, I have an issue. I know that the last meeting, I swear we paid this BTE, the BTE bill that you have for 130.19.
There was a previous bill for that exact same amount. I had thought it was already paid, but then I was looking at the invoice numbers, and this invoice is dated July 31. And
Okay,
it was not included in the check run.
but what I'd like to pull out, because I specifically remember when I went over the checks last time with Director Schoenberg, that it had on their holiday fee 4th of July on the last invoice, and they're having it on there again. Now, I could be wrong, but we need to pull that invoice. So this check I'm going to hold out. We'll go ahead and sign it, but we'll void it but we need to pull the other invoice, and we need to double check and compare the invoices, because I swear we paid that, because I remember it saying holiday fee 4th of July on the last invoice.
Yeah, I will tell you that I had thought it was already paid too, but then when I looked at the amount, then I looked at the invoice numbers, the invoice dates, the dates and the number were
Okay, but we
different.
need to look at the actual invoice and see what they have for the holiday. Maybe it's a different holiday, but I swear the holiday 4th of July was on there. So
I will look at it.
Yeah, because I don't want to send this check out until we know for sure, because I want to make sure that something didn't get double billed or something like that.
I completely agree. I completely agree with Director Nyman, because I recall discussing the additional holiday payment also. So I'm also very concerned that we're double paying it regardless of whatever they put on their invoice.
And then there's one other one, that the ADP that you have for 270.40. My concern is, they've sent us a letter saying that a certain invoice was past due, but where's the original invoice?
Yeah, I do not have the original invoice. It was dated July 31. That charge happens with every payroll. So
No, I understand that, but I
did call them and ask them to send us an actual receipt, copy of the invoice, because I did not have it. I just got the past due one.
Now, did you check you checked in QuickBooks to make sure that we hadn't paid that invoice number? Because you have.
Yeah, not only did I look at it visually, but QuickBooks is set up that if I input the same invoice number, it will let me know, hey, this is a duplicate invoice. You already inputted this invoice. So
Okay.
I take that, plus I look at it myself just to confirm. And I saw that, again, a different invoice number and a different date, and the amount it's pretty much always that amount, because we get that for every payroll.
Right, but I'm also concerned, Linda, again, just like with the BTE, that why is there a late payment? Why did we not get that invoice? Because we pay, I believe, multiple times, twice a month, every month. So
Okay, that invoice was dated July 1. It's not late. It was dated July 1. We probably, and we never did get the invoice. If we did get it, we would have gotten it around August 7th or 8th, which was, I think the last time we met was August 6th. I'm not sure. I can look. It was, yeah, August 6th. Or August 13th. So it was really close there. So I don't know. I did not have that invoice. So if I had had the invoice, of course it would have been paid. But it was dated July 31. And then we did get the one dated August 14th that came in, and I got that included in the payment.
The letter was dated July 31st. The invoice you said was was the first.
The invoice was dated July 31st. I go by the date that it shows the invoice date.
I don't believe so, because I have it written down that the letter is July 31st, that there's a letter attached that says that we have a late payment that we didn't pay.
Okay, the invoice date was 7/31.
Yeah.
And the letter was August 10th.
Okay, I wrote it down incorrectly. I don't have those in front of me. Director Nyman has them.
So,
So,
okay.
I mean, I will notice, it was one of the things I noticed today too, like BTE or even ADP, they only give you like 9 days to pay. Well, that's impossible. Counting the mail and then processing and getting approval for you guys.
Right.
They're
Well, I don't
just for
care.
your-
I don't care what they want. I mean, typically everybody should get at least 30 days. That's what.
But we got two late notices, and I'm looking at them, and both of them are for invoices dated July 31.
Yeah. Yeah, that's ridiculous. So, okay, that's not a problem. So what I'm going to do on the BTE, I will have us sign the check, but I'm going to bring it in. And you need to either void it, or we need to mail it out. Have Johnny mail it out once you've verified.
I put a note on my here to look at it and look and see if it has the same description. And I wrote down 4th of July.
I would like to add to that. I would like to add to that we've had such a bad time with BTE lately with people who are saying that they can't get a hold of us after hours. It takes 5 or 6 minutes sometimes for them to stop playing music to let somebody report a leak. To where today I raised enough cane with a supervisor that I talked to her supervisor. I told her that we're ready to just leave BTE and go with a different answering service. It's just terrible. So he's trying to keep us there. He sent me his email. So possibly I could also address the due dates and all that stuff with this new guy and tell him, look, these are additional issues that we have with the billing and the due dates. We need to have more time to pay our bills.
Yeah.
You definitely need to do that, Johnny.
Absolutely.
And I've been reading all kinds of stuff on social media bulletin boards that's very negative about trying to contact us.
Yeah, exactly. And today, our on-call tried to call the answering service. They were on hold for 7 minutes. And the only reason why it stopped at 7 minutes was because a supervisor called him to give him a message. So that's when I started getting upset. So what he said was basically they opened us up to a whole nother network where now we, instead of having like 20 people that are supposed to be available for our calls, there's going to be 50 people available for our calls. So we'll see if that actually works. And we could do that just by calling the office and checking ourselves. So I will be following up on that and checking up on it.
Okay. All right, I will, you have anything else, Director Schoenberg?
Well, we need to motion to pay our bills.
Right, I would just,
I do have one other thing before we do that. I just have a question about, I mean, well, I guess we could motion to pay the bills first, and then I have one other financial question.
okay,
So I'd like to move that we pay our bills, with the, with the things that we've already discussed, which is holding back the BTE communications until we know more. I didn't really totally understand the ADP. Still a little bit confused about why we have late payments for that, or why they said, so I
It's
think.
not late. It was dated July 31.
Right, but I think we need to just address that, so I understand that. And we're also holding back the check for D. Jasper and Associates. So, so with those changes, I'd like to move that we pay our bills.
I'll second that.
okay. Roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried, 4-0-1 absent. I would say on that motion, Director Schoenberg, we were going to cut a new check. We've approved that we're holding back the D. Jasper, but we're going to pay it once we get the correct amount. Not to exceed 11,300 and.
Yeah, that's correct. I think we need to re-vote, so I accept that friendly amendment as new information that I missed, and add that to the motion, and I need the seconder to approve that, and we need to re-vote.
Okay, do you accept that friendly amendment, Director Garcia? That amendment, saying that the check will not exceed 11,356.44
Oh, yes, absolutely.
for G. Jasper and Associates when we get the correct information.
That's
Okay, so let's we'll redo the vote. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, 4-0-1, one absent. Okay, on to the.
Wait, I have one more question on the
Oh, yes.
finance.
Yes,
So I know that we had discussed at another meeting, I believe the regular meeting, a monthly, when we passed the budget, a monthly transfer into the capital improvement reserve, and I have not started that yet, and I just want to make sure that I have that understanding correctly. So I need to just double check with Tiffany that before I do that, I need to double check. And Linda can speak to that as well. But I recall that we went ahead and passed an amount. And
we did.
And I just need to double check.
My recollection is that that you guys did approve that, and I'm thinking it was for 20,000 a month.
It was less than that. It was like
19.
19, yeah. So
I believe it was 19. It's actually, I think it's in the
minutes.
in the other minutes that we're going to approve tonight.
So I just want to double check that. I'm just letting you know while we're on the financials that as soon as I've double checked that, then I will start. Then I'll set up the monthly automatic transfer.
Okay.
I haven't done it yet.
All righty. Sounds good. All right. We're on to the manager's report.
All right. As you know, we had one employee out on disability. He's since come back, but it's not looking like he's back to 100%. We've also temporarily have another employee out. Him and his wife
came down with a low grade fever and body aches. So they both went down and they got tested for COVID. So I'm having our employees stay home. His wife has already had results returned as negative, but the employee has not yet. So we've been still short this week. And we've had, well, right now we have 5 active water leaks, or we fixed 2 of them today. We have to go back to another one. There's a situation, some of you may have seen it on social media, where this lady is really upset. She's acting like we haven't addressed a leak at her house. She claimed it's been going on for 2 months, but that's not the case at all. What happened is she reported a leak at her meter. We went out and checked it. There was no leak at the meter. In the meantime, it turns out that the leak was actually coming from one of our lines and running through her yard. So she tried to shut it off, or she had somebody try to shut it off, and she busted the curb stop. So it took us a full day of digging out to the main to go ahead and replace all that stuff. In the meantime, the next day, a full day, we dug down. It turned out that she had built, or the prior owner had built, their wall directly on top of our main line. So when we dug underneath, instead of finding a pipe, the water was pouring out of the foundation of the wall, the wall itself. So I had Jerry Garcia come down, because he's an expert in concrete and masonry and stuff. And I talked to him about it. He gave me his advice. And then we started trying to find a way to not jackhammer her wall apart, but to try to intercept the pipe further down the street and cut it off. But in the meantime, we got all these extra leaks that have been kicking off. We've had 2 pipes augured through with the main power pole replacement. So anyway, we've just been chasing our tail. So if you guys see something on social media, it's totally unfounded. We have not disregarded this lady's issues. And as a matter of fact, they've greatly exasperated our issues by pouring that wall on our pipeline.
Okay. Linda, did you raised, Director Kelly, go ahead.
Is the wall on her property, or is it out in the street?
It looks to me like it's probably on her property line, and that's not unusual. But I suppose I could check and see if they had ever called in a USA, although I don't know how to do that, or if that even changes anything. I mean, the fact is we still have to stop the water, but what I do know is it's not causing any property damage. It's just trickling through her yard, less than a garden hose. And we're just doing the best that we can in the meantime. If I wanted to just jackhammer her wall apart, it would be a lot easier. But who knows how much we're going to have to take down, and then who's going to be liable. I would think we would have to put it back up, but also I would think that they wouldn't have poured their foundation on our pipe. So, there could be another situation like the other people that built their wall on our pipe, where when it falls down or there's a problem, they're the ones that are responsible for it, unless they followed all the protocol with permitting and USAs and all that. I have yet to have time to do that, and I haven't tried to go that route. I'm just trying to help this person. I've explained it to her several times, and she's always polite to me, but she's very unpleasant to all of the crew and when she's posting stuff on social media.
You have pictures of the leak?
Yeah, it's just a tiny little leak, but yeah, I do.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yep, I took the pictures.
Yeah, we probably need to keep that for, in case we have a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're working 4 houses down on the pipes that the power company augured through. And my hope was that those pipes that were augured through, when we capped those off, that it was going to stop the flow of water going out of the wall, because it's 3 or 4 houses away. But it turned out that was not the case. We capped the one that should be going up the street, and it did not shut off the flow of water.
Okay.
Are we, did the power company come to us and have us mark our pipes before they did that? And if they did not, are we going to charge back to the power company?
No, they have absolutely come to us, and I happen to be standing right there telling them where to drill at that situation. It's another one of the main lines that instead of running along the road, it cuts across people's properties right next to a telephone pole. And it makes no sense in today's layout of the town why anybody would ever run a pipe the way that they did, nor is it on any of our maps that way. But as another note, when they've come in here, we get 20 or 30 USAs a day. I've already explained to them that there's no way that with our crew, we can keep up with that. That's a full-time 8-hour-a-day job just devoted to USAs. So they've been working with us and they know how to use witching sticks and they know how to look for valve cans, and they typically call us out if there's a question as to whether or not there's a pipe there. So they're really working hard with us, but there's just no way we could keep up with all those USAs. The gas company has a full-time guy working just in Fraser Park to keep up with them.
Yeah, I know. He was at my house today.
Yeah, David. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, that's the situation.
Okay, on to number 12, discussion vote on truck repairs.
You know, this is the fun part. Before everybody gets mad at me, nobody's madder at me than me or disappointed. But for the first time in 11 years, I went into work sick on Monday, trying to still work, trying to stay away from people. Figured I would operate equipment, grading. Got too close to my own personal work truck, clipped the side of it. Not even that hard, but it ended up causing $4,500 damage. So, and I know how much Lisa feels like that hurts the district, and I agree, the people in it. I immediately went to Jerry Garcia, told him what happened, also called Brahma, told him what happened, went straight down to the occupational medicine, had myself tested doing the urinalysis, which Tiffany got the results this afternoon. Obviously, I'm good there, but I made a mistake. And so now we're stuck with this $4,500 bill. I was going to turn it into insurance, and I realized that our deductible is $1,000. If we turn it into insurance, we're only going to save $3,500. But I think with premiums going up with claims, we'll save money by just paying for it, or possibly just leaving it the way it is until I find some parts, at least the 2 doors parts in junkyard, and replace them myself, and then have the body shop just do the skin on the bed.
Why? What about, I mean, can we question the insurance to see what it would, if it would raise our rates?
Well, yeah, and I kind of did that the last time when the truck happened and then our rates went up. I was told, no, it probably wouldn't affect us, but then it did. Because it's an accumulation. I don't believe that it's just the vehicle insurance, but it's the claims when Wolf washed out the houses, or because it's all part of the same insurance, the property and liability. And I think that the unless it's really gonna make a big difference, like if you totaled the truck, obviously you would turn it into insurance, but to save $3,500, I don't think that it's worth having that extra black mark on our insurance. And again, or you could just say drive it the way it is. It drives fine. It doesn't have, air leaks. It's not like, I mean, it don't look horrible. To me, it looks terrible, but it's not super horrible. It's just dents in the door and the bed right there. And like I said, we could possibly find another truck and get it a lot cheaper just by I mean, I could replace doors if I find them. I just can't replace the skin on the side of the truck bed.
What's happening, Johnny, on the windows?
They're what?
On the window of the other truck?
Well, the windows are fine. So, if you get doors, chances are they're gonna have windows in them anyway. But if not, the glass is. I mean, everything's fine on the truck. Like I said.
No, I think she jumped from what we were talking about.
Oh, I don't know what we're.
The one that was broken out with the weed eater.
Yeah, that still has to be repaired. I haven't had a chance to do that. We haven't. we got to be able to get it off the hill. And with COVID, there's no way to get it off the hill and leave it and then get the driver back, because then you have to ride double in a vehicle or rent a vehicle. So we haven't done that because the person that's been operating that truck the most was the one that's off on disability for the last 2 months. So it is still not fixed. It's still sitting there. Nobody will come up here to replace the window. We have to take it to them.
And it has to be done through the dealer?
No, it just has to be like Safelite used to, they're mobile. They used to come up to Fraser Park, but since COVID started and I started asking, I can't find anybody that will travel up here to do the window. So I could physically take it myself, but we're trying not to drive each other's vehicles, because anytime you do, you got to try to disinfect the whole vehicle. Because
I've
if somebody,
seen the 2 guys in one truck.
yeah, and now what happened with that, because that was against my direct orders, is now the guy that's out with possible COVID, if he comes down with COVID, then the guy who rode with him in the truck, he's also got COVID. That's why I've been telling everybody not to drive double, drive Polaris's and drive the work trucks. I don't ride with anybody in the vehicles, and they shouldn't be either, but I can't watch them every minute of the day.
Right. Have you asked down at Fast Auto about doing windows? Because I know Sam does windows.
No, I have not asked that, because I thought that only window people did windows. Most shops send it out to somebody else.
Oh, no, Sam does them himself.
Oh, well, then I know him. I'll ask him then. Great idea.
So what do we, any thoughts, Director Garcia, on the truck?
I thought we should just take advantage of our insurance, but hearing how it raised the rates, it's, it's.
How much did they raise our rates?
Budgetary call.
That's the question. How much did they raise our rates? I mean,
Yeah, I don't remember. I just remember that we had an increase, and when you guys asked why,
okay. What I would like, maybe you could do is have Linda look up and see when they raised our rates, how much they raised our rates. Because and that's probably the best way to determine whether we pay for it out of our pocket or whether we go ahead and turn it in.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole reason for having insurance.
Yeah, and then I could also look up what it would cost to get the doors from a junkyard and replace those doors, and then only turn in the bed of the, well, and then, who knows if it'd even make sense then. I don't know. Yeah, so
Yeah,
do you want to
still
carry
have to paint- we'd have to paint them too, otherwise they're not gonna match,
just get white, you get it from a white truck, from a white 2016 white truck. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for turning in for insurance too, but I'll ask Linda, and then we'll bring it back up at the next regular meeting.
Yeah,
And-
that would be perfect.
I agree, because the truck's still running, so if we have to run it looking a little ugly for a few, then as long as we can tell the town that we're working on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All righty. On to number 14. Oh, Dee, you can leave us if you like. And I'm not kicking you off, but I know you hate to leave us, but
Dave as well, all we have left is minutes, and
yeah.
I think oh, no, Dave is still there.
You gotta unmute yourself, Dee.
Thank you. Here are the maps for the boardroom. Made them while we were, other discussions, but so Johnny, are you going to be down in Bakersfield? You want me to leave these on the front counter or what?
Yeah. If you leave them on the front counter, I'll come down on Monday morning and pick them up.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Dave.
All right. Yeah, well, good night, everybody. I hope you get some sleep tonight. And
Yeah, I hope you do too. You got a lot of work to do, Dee. And we're gonna be on you.
More than normal?
Make sure you get your nap.
All right, will do.
All
Thank
right.
you very much and have a
Thank you, Dee.
Good night.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, night.
Night, Dave.
Okay, so we're on to review and approve meeting minutes, 7/9/2020.
Okay, so I had something on there. I don't know
You
if
did.
anybody else did.
I didn't catch anything.
Okay, so on page hold on, I'm trying to understand what I wrote on here. Okay, so on the second page is Wolf Tank spelled wrong. So these are the minutes for Thursday, July 9th, 2020. So so the Wolf Tank spelling, and that's on page 2, and also on page 5 under the 11, the motion, it says move. I mean, I probably said this weird, but I think we need to fix it. It says move that we allow Tiffany until we resolve this issue and have a separate login for our front counter person, that we allow Tiffany to give her password and login information to Tanya. I say that we strike the second that we allow Tiffany and just leave it at to give her password and login information. And then no, I probably said it weirdly. And then there's also on page 7, after on the motion, top of the page, it says move that we take number 17, and there's a period that shouldn't be there. Are you getting that, Tiffany?
Yep, I'm listening.
Okay, so that's those are the errors I found on that particular set of minutes. So I move that we approve the minutes for Thursday, July 9th, 2020, with those amendment corrections I mentioned, and the possibility for additional amendments for typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Garcia has seconded that. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, 401 absent. Okay,
No one else had any corrections on those, right?
no.
Nope.
I forgot to
No.
ask. Okay. On to the Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. Does anybody have corrections? Because I have
No.
some. Okay, so
I read them. I don't see how I didn't find
yeah,
them.
whatever. Okay, so page 1.
Oh. Go ahead, Director Schoenberg.
Page 1 under number 10, it says 2 additional checks were written to cover the cost of the modification of the front counter. That's not exactly correct. It was 1 check that got lost, so I don't think it really should be 2 additional checks, right? Only 1 check was written for the modification of the front counter of $3,000. It was lost. We did a stop payment, which I don't think we had done at the point of these minutes. And then another check was issued. So I don't think that should be on these minutes. I'm not sure, but I think that 2 might be incorrect. And then right under that, two lines down, Wolf Tank is spelled incorrectly.
Hey, Johnny, on the front counter desk, weren't they supposed to do something on the door?
Yeah, they were supposed to, and they still will. I just have to buy the door from Home Depot. And I was just told a couple days ago that, yeah, it's still not a problem. They'll install that other door as soon as I pick it up.
Okay, I just want to make sure because we paid them. I don't want them to just not.
Oh, yeah. No, and the one that actually said he's gonna make sure that he installs it himself because he's local is Mike Khalil.
Okay, all righty,
Okay.
no problem.
Well, we're out
Sorry.
of order because that's not on the minutes.
Oh,
Okay, so and moving along on page 2.
Well, wait.
Uh,
Hang
wait,
on.
you missed Wolf Tank.
I said Wolf Tank.
Oh, okay.
On that page 1, It says that the property and auto increased by $500. You guys were asking. It's right there.
Right, so $500 is not a big deal for $3,500, so that's probably,
Is that 500 a month?
No, because we don't pay it monthly,
it
I don't
says
believe.
it says annual, but again, we're out of order, so we're just talking about the minutes right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Johnny, some work's been done for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, go ahead, Director Schoenberg. We apologize.
Okay, so this has to do with the same number 10, accounts payable and financial information. On page 2, in the motion, it says move that we pay our bills with the change to where expenses were categorized and the bill back to T-Mobile, but that stuff's not mentioned at all under the actual body of the minutes. So I think, Tiffany, you need to go back in and add, I don't know why that's missing, but it doesn't make sense for me to make a motion that hasn't been talked about. So the actual, those two items actually need to be added back in under 10. So that's, the items are the change to where expenses are categorized, which we must have discussed, but it's not there, and the bill back to T-Mobile, which we must have discussed, but it's not there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, and then on page 3, there's a typo on Wolf Tank. It's spelled incorrectly twice, under 7A and then under the motion as well. So the 7A discussion and then the 7A motion.
Okay.
And that's it. So with that, I'd like to move that we approve the minute for Thursday, July 23rd, 2020, with the amendments, corrections I mentioned, and the possibility for additional amendments, typos, or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Director Kelling, second it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. 401 absent. Okay, on to special meeting minutes for Thursday, August 6, 2020.
Does anyone have corrections on those?
I didn't.
I didn't either. I didn't.
I do.
I love you, Lisa.
I'm glad somebody does. Okay. So on page 2, under the third motion, so there's a motion, then there's a second motion. The third motion needs to have some kind of wording because it's very confusing that it's continuing with 5. Because what happened is we were on 5 and then Director Gibson showed back up and then we re-voted. So there needs to be something right before that third motion that says continue with motion number, or continue with item number 5. And then the wording itself says move, under the motion says move that we approve this with all the amendments based on D giving it one more go over once D has it cleaned up. And it doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
I
Kind of rattle on.
I don't know what I said. It's my motion. It's probably exactly the way I said it. I probably said it really weirdly, but I don't think it makes sense to any other human beings. So I think that I don't know what it should say, but move that we approve. Well, first of all, it shouldn't say this. It should say what we're approving. So move that we approve it's the test well
Specification.
yeah, plans and specifications, the bid packet So it should be like move that we approve the bid packet with all the amendments. I think based on D giving it one more go over and us, it was the ad hoc approving it once it's cleaned up.
Right.
Does that make sense, Tiffany?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your voice changed radically, Tiffany.
It did.
Okay, so did that
I
make
will
sense?
work on something. I'll probably put an asterisk or something. I'll figure it out and let you know.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you may have to say that I was tired or something and worded it really strangely. Anyway, so with that in mind, I am going to move that we oh, tired. Okay, I lost here. I'm gonna move that we approve the minutes for Thursday, July,
August
no, August,
6th.
Thursday, August 6, 2020, with the changes that I brought up and the possibility for additional amendments for typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Garcia has seconded. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay,
I just want to double check.
motion carried 401 absent.
I just want to double check with Tiffany. You got both parts of that, right? That we need to put something like on 5 something. 5
Say that again. You cut out.
Oh, I just want to make sure that you got both parts of that it say 5 continued and that the wording be a little different. Like
Okay. Yeah.
it needs to also say 5
Yeah.
continued. Very confusing.
Okay.
Okay, on to 15. Any additional items to place on the agenda?
I want to, if you'll let me, I want to confirm some of the agenda items since
Sure, go
things
ahead.
are a little bit over. Okay, so the portable generator, do you want it on the next regular or planning?
The next regular.
Yes.
Okay, next regular. I'm writing this down. Do you want well 5 on the regular meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Well 5 on regular. Okay, next one.
And we probably need to put it on both, Tiffany. It needs to be on the regular and the planning for a little while until we get it all figured out.
Okay. What Brahma was talking about, the Wolf Tank repairs on Wolf Tank, you want it on the regular meeting?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I have, are we putting something on the regular meeting for a game plan for tying in the PVC on Manita?
Yes.
Okay, and do you want something at the regular meeting on the financials for a detailed look into accounts and expenditures?
Yes.
Okay, those were my questions.
Okay, great. With that, number 16, I will entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Actually, there's one more thing on the next regular meeting. We probably also need the RCAC, like an update for on the ad hoc. I don't think it has that on. Let me, well, I don't know because I don't have one in front of me, but for the ad hoc reports, it needs to include now the RCAC.
Yeah, that's on there.
Okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
And it needs to include the state, the well 5 as part of like going to the state for it.
Yeah, I have the project committee. Do you want it more detailed than that?
No, I guess not.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn. Hello?
I can hear you.
Somebody want to entertain a motion? Are you there, Director Schoenberg? Hello?
Oh, I always let one of the other directors do that. I like to be here till midnight, you know.
Director Garcia?
I'll move that we adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Good
Okay.
job, guys.
Director Kelly has, God, pull the teeth. Director Kelly has seconded that motion. Roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson is absent, Director Kelly,
Aye.
okay, Director Nyman's and I, and Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned at 8:50 PM and I'll be up for signatures, Lisa.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.